falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. Shouldn't be trusting me, I could be making it all up, you know. Out of control, you don't know me. I'm a danger to myself. Out of control.
Evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. Alright, so rolling right into video number 2. I'm going to save all the yada yada yadas for a different video because we're going to roll right into it. I want you guys to get as much information as you can on the first couple of weeks of the trial. So let's move on to what the case is all about and what's been going on so far and what is important to know, with the exception of everything we already talked about in video 1. So far, we have not heard from Heard. And I just want to say that, and I will be reiterating that throughout the video because we've only seen JD's side of things so far. It's only been his witnesses so far in court, and until she has spoken in a court of law as well as the people on her behalf, we can't come up with a full conclusion, obviously. And let me tell you that when I find something to be wrong, I will say so. It doesn't matter if it was AH or JD or whatever. If I don't think it's right, I'm going to say so. And if I think it's great, I'm going to say so. So I am completely unbiased in this whole thing as I'm bringing it to you. All right. Obviously, I do have my own opinions and my own whose side I'm leaning towards, but that I'm not presenting here. I'm presenting everything, and I'm going to call it like it is, like I do in every single video. I have heard from witnesses such as, a childhood best friend, his sister, marriage counselor. We've heard from people that have really been in their relationship, within, from within. They are there all the time, such as security, and assistance of the two, all sorts of people, right? And we've heard a lot of other things from the public and other celebrities that have spoken not in court, but publicly when they heard about this case. So far, we haven't heard from anything of hers, so we can't go on any of that yet. But these are all people that were as close to the couple as possible. And for many years, some of them have been in JD's life for his whole life, such as his sister. So the celebrities that have known to have worked with JD very intimately have spoken out, such as Winona Ryder, who was actually engaged to him for a few years, actually, Angelina Jolie, Penelope Cruz, and her husband. And, so far from what I can see, JD seems to be a victim in that relationship. Now, I'm not saying that he is the victim in that relationship, so don't get it twisted, y'all. I'm saying that he is a victim as well. And again, I remind you, we have not heard from AH's side, so again, keep that in mind. Boy, I can't wait to do that, though. One thing that JD has held firm on this entire time is that he never physically AB'd AH. A little riddle there. He does bring forth many times that she was physically AB towards him, saying it could begin with a slap. It could begin with a shove. It could begin with, throwing a TV remote at my head, throwing a glass of wine in my face. All in all, it was just constant. He stated that he felt she had a need for conflict, a need for violence. And, a lot of us know people like this, women like this. We call them drama queens, but it is so much more than that. It is a type of drama that they seem to thrive on it. They thrive on chaos. They thrive on fighting and arguing, and they will chase you down to get the last word. And it's so much more than being a drama queen. It can lead to different types of AB in many forms: verbal, physical, emotional, psychological. It can come in the form of gaslighting and blatant, bold-faced lies. And it can ruin a person's reputation in a heartbeat, especially in Hollywood, where you're under a microscope 24/7. JD was AB'd as a child by his mother, and his sister testified to this as well. She testified that JD's response to the AB of his mother was always to turn his back to it and withdraw from it. And this sounds so familiar from that audio recording that I put out for you guys the other day, because I wanted to kind of get you to hear their dynamic and the way that they talk to each other, because I think it speaks volumes as to how they were behind closed doors. Even though they knew that they were recording, you can definitely see the argument style, if you will. I don't know, lack of a better term, but the argument style of the two. He's very withdrawn, whereas she is very provoking. And JD said that AH had weaponized her knowledge of his childhood AB and his experience as a child, and she would attack him with it, along with a parade of insults. In essence, she was his mother, and he would retreat and go to substances for comfort, just as he did as a young boy. He would walk away. He would go to another room. He would lock himself behind a door. And this for him was a coping mechanism, and AH could not tolerate that. She could not stand for it. She would hunt him down, and she would escalate the entire situation. He also talked about his father and how his father would commonly disassociate with his mother when she would become irrational like that. And he talked about a post-nup agreement that was the start of a particularly serious fight. If you've heard about the finger loss, this is the fight that caused it, and it all started with this post-nup that made her. She called him a little kitty cat, but the P word, and an ass kisser to his lawyers. And he said that she always had an issue with signing any type of prenup or postnup, and she felt that he was going to leave her with nothing. Now, obviously, again, we haven't heard from her yet. And one word on the street is that she had a problem signing the prenup, or she had no problem. Sorry, let me retract. She had no problem signing a prenup because she was an up-and-coming actress herself at the time. She was young, and she's just now starting to get some bigger roles and get paid some bigger, more money, and she wanted to protect herself as well. So she says she never had an issue with this. This is just ridiculous. She was more concerned with him leaving her out at all, and she even brought up the fact that she wasn't even in his will. Now, they had kind of a whirlwind romance, and they got married it shocked everybody. It was kind of out of the blue for a lot of people. And, I don't think he even got time to the will yet, which he says, who was even thinking about wills at that time, We had just gotten married. We were on our honeymoon. So this was a fight that took place in Australia when he was filming Pirates 5. And this is the one that they bring up in the audio recording when they talk about Australia. And during this argument, JD testified that he had tried to remove himself from her tantrum, if you want to call it, and he had locked her out of 8 or 9 bedrooms, trying to avoid her physical attacks. And she was banging and banging and banging on the other side of doors, trying to get him to come out so that she could engage him in a physical altercation. He called his lawyer to ask, what was said to AH that had set her off so badly about this postnup. And because it was said that while AH had met with the lawyer to discuss the agreement, that AH had said to the lawyer, "There's no way Johnny has seen this." And, the lawyer kind of scoffed and said, "Oh, he's seen it." And, just a little kind of condescending little laugh there, and it just set her off. And at that time, Johnny says that he had been sober for 18 months from alcohol and any hard substances, and that he only smoked a little marijuana, and that was it. Nothing hard and no alcohol. But during this fight, he had been pushed to his limits. He went downstairs where there was a bar. He says that he was completely freaking out. He was shaking. He said he grabbed a bottle of vodka and a shot glass, and he began pouring himself shots. And he had about 2 to 3 shots, and Amber came down and she caught him. And immediately she jumps down his neck about it and is, calling him a monster, which is a term that she has used always to describe him when he is on substances. And she referred, to him as this monster again. And JD testified that she had grabbed the bottle and hurled it at him. And it went, right past his head and hit the wall right behind him. And he says that after that, he calmly stood up while she's screaming and yelling and cursing at him, goes and grabs another bottle of vodka that happened to be back there. It was a handle bottle. It wasn't completely full, but it was a handle bottle of vodka, and he poured himself another shot. He says at this point, AH is continuing to yell and curse, and he grabbed that bottle, and then she grabbed that bottle, the handle bottle of vodka, and she threw that bottle at him. And at the time, he says his hand was on the edge of the bar, kind of resting there, and the bottle hit his hand and the bar and shattered, and subsequently severing his middle finger on his right hand, his dominant hand. And he says the tip was gone, the bone was sticking out, blood was pouring out. He said initially he didn't feel any pain. He felt a very warm sensation, like something was dripping down his hand. And that's when he realized what happened. And I can attest to that one because I have cut the tip of my finger off as well, my pinky. And that is actually is these 2 fingers right here. But it was most of my pinky was off. And just a big, huge slice through that one. But I didn't feel it either. It was just this warm, I just felt this hot wetness, and I looked down and I felt blood dripping on my feet. And, oh yeah, shit cut me good. JD said that once he realized what happened and that his finger had been severed, he kind of lost it. He explains it, though he said he doesn't. Feels like to have a complete mental breakdown. He felt like nothing made sense, and he realized then that no one should have to deal with this in a relationship, is what I'm assuming he meant. He started writing on the walls and around the house, even on a lampshade, lies that she had told him throughout the years and that he had caught her in. And he was doing this with his bloody finger. He said he used his blood, and when that ran out, he dipped it into paint, and he continued to write these things on the walls, mirrors, lampshade. And she was actually running around with a Sharpie responding to them. So, I mean, if I haven't said it yet, I don't think I have. This relationship was so very toxic on both ends. Like, this is like the epitome of what a toxic relationship looks like. And honestly, you guys, it happens all the time. The fact that they are famous and that this is in the public eye should really bring awareness that if you are in a relationship like this, it is toxic. If you can't see that, see it now. It is not okay to instigate each other like that. It is not okay to put hands on each other. It is not okay for someone to put hands on you. And it is not okay to stay in a relationship where you guys are essentially torturing each other. Please, if you are in a relationship like this, please, it is toxic. Do not tell yourself it's not. It is. All right. Sorry about that. Moving on. He eventually called Dr. Kipper to come, and the photos of his finger are pretty gnarly. I'm not going to put them in here, only the ones that are, edited. But the main issue with this injury is that he told different stories of how it happened, and he didn't once name AH as the cause. He says he did this to protect her, and I almost think, and this is my opinion, that he was embarrassed, and not necessarily that she hurt him, because he's a man and whatever, at least not in this case. I think it was more that because they had been arguing so violently, and I think for a while they had been so good. She talks about how they were so good, and then all of a sudden it turned, shitty again. And I think he was also embarrassed of that too, and didn't want to be like, man, we just got into it so bad. She whipped a fucking handle bottle at me and cut my damn finger off, you know? You have to remember and understand that they even admit they had a very volatile relationship. And, you know, even from how he tells it while he's on the stand, only that first year to year and a half when they were together was actually good. The rest of it just went downhill from there. So people knew that they were fighting a lot. People were aware of it. And I don't think he wanted to broadcast how serious it was starting to get. He did say that he told Dr. Kipper what really happened. And there's a photo where he's in the hospital for his finger, and there's a green dot on it. And this one was brought up in court. And he was asked during his testimony what that was. And he said that that was from where Amber had put a cigarette out on his face. Now, the reason that I put out that first video, as I've already said, though it wasn't really a video, it was more of a, you know, slideshow with their argument in the background, was so that you could get some perspective of how they were during an argument, right? I said this before. And within that audio, there were several different arguments that they both handled completely differently, right? They don't handle arguments the same. One is much more vocal and verbal, and at times instigating, gaslighting, insulting. And one of them is also admitted several times to having physically put hands on the other. And I wanted you guys to hear those clips because you get kind of an understanding of how the dynamic worked between the two of them. And in my opinion, one of them was the aggressor and the other one was on the defense. And this is a very toxic way to argue, because when I say the other one was on the defense, I don't mean he was, you know, the victim. What I mean is he was always having to defend himself. It wasn't like anything ever got resolved. You know, and I'm not saying, oh, AH is such a horrible, horrible person. Listen to how she just berates him and yada, yada, yada. He's such a poor, helpless victim. But when I listen to that audio, I hear an emotionally disturbed person. And then I hear a rational yet annoyed and frustrated and fed up person. And it's an argument that just went around and around and around in circles for no clear reason. And it went around like this for hours. 5 hours is the actual total of that argument. And there was no resolution that I ever heard because there was just never a compromise. It would seem like they were getting to a compromise, but one would always kind of, you know, AH would always just kind of back off and be like, but I still need this. And it's like, well, JD's like, if I'm going to give you this, then I need this. And she's like, well, you know, I need this, but I'm not going to give you that. I mean, it was just head spinning. And I don't want to get too into it because I'm not a therapist. But I have been to therapy and I've been in toxic relationships before. And I have even been the type to be that person that likes to poke the bear. And now that I'm older and wiser, I have grown out of a lot of that. But there was a time when I can actually, the way she's talking, I would be sometimes. And I'm disgusted to admit it. But I know what it's like to, you know, not want someone to leave. And so it's almost like, if you're going to walk out of here when this argument's done, I'm going to keep it going because I want you here. So it's very messed up. Not proud of it. And I'm glad I'm not like it anymore. But unfortunately for AH, she keeps denying that this is the type of person that she is not ever going to change from it. And hopefully this may be an eye-opener for her. Now, JD testified that in addition to the physical AB, she was also extremely verbally AB. He said that she would start out verbally, and when he would ignore it or try to get away from it, she would become physically violent. He said that she would be slapping, hitting, and even punching him. And he said that there was a time that he let her do it. He explained a time that he stood there in the doorway and said, "You want to hit me again? Hit me." And bam, she did. And he said, "Are you done or you want to do it again?" Bam, did it again. And he's like, okay, now you're done. And he moved her, set her on the bed, and said, no, don't follow me. I'm leaving now. You're done. He claimed that she would fake injuries often, talking about a time that she had faked a broken nose by holding a bloody tissue over her face. And this was, and later on, he went to the trash can and he looked at the bloody tissue only to find that it was actually red nail polish. And this was in reference to a fight where she claimed that he had headbutted her. However, in court, he testified that he was trying to restrain her, and their heads kind of clashed, and that's what caused the headbutt. So technically, it was a headbutt, but he didn't purposely headbutt her, but their heads did butt, and it did not hit her nose or eyes or anything. It was just the forehead. And she came in the room and she was like, look what you did, you broke my nose, and he immediately was like, there's no friggin' way. And so he went into the bathroom on purpose to look in the trash can to get the thing to see. Is it, nope, nail polish. He also admitted that at times she would become very physical with him, and he would have to hold her and restrain her in order to keep from being assaulted himself. And sometimes that would result in some other types of injuries. But again, he maintained he never hit her. He never went after her. He never was the sole perpetrator, if you will, want to call it. He never came after her like that. Now, this is also my opinion, but I kind of feel like him being older and wiser, he allowed her to have these tantrums at first. I don't think he looked at it as AB at first. I think that he was understanding, and I also think that he was very self-aware, meaning he knew that he was difficult to be in a relationship with. He knew that he had issues with substances. He knew that he had issues with his past, and because of that, in a way, maybe he felt like he deserved it, or at least understood where it was coming from. But there was a point where he realized that he was basically in a relationship with his mother. And his mother, we all know, was very AB towards him. And I think once he realized this was when he knew he needed to get out of the relationship. At this point, she was so much like his mother, and he realized that this was going to go nowhere because it never went anywhere with his mother. And he needed to get out. This was not even safe anymore to be in. And if I haven't said it before, I'm going to say it now, and I'll probably say it again. She brought the worst in him. All these people, women, exes of JD's, and none of them say he was ever physical with them in that type of way. Ever. So what's the difference? What's the common denominator, as they say? In my opinion, a lot of it is in that audio that I posted. There's much more than these little snippets that I gave you in that. There's 5 hours, and it's basically all the same. And there was no resolution. One fight or disagreement or argument or whatever you want to call it would snowball into the next, and so on and so forth. After one of the bigger fights where Johnny showed up late to her 30th birthday party, Amber had left to go out of town to attend Coachella with her friends. And JD decided that he was going to go back to the apartment and get some things while she wasn't there. But he was told that he shouldn't go, and was also sent a photo that was to explain why he shouldn't go. And it was because there was human feces on his side of the bed. And what's interesting about this is she blamed it on the dogs, yet she posted on Instagram dirty 30, and and I know they call when you turn 30 dirty 30, but she kind of did this in reference to what left on the bed as well. A lot of people believe by the wording that she used, and she also admitted later on that it was a prank. And to add context to what Johnny was dealing with at the time that she left this little present on his bed as a prank, his mother was dying. His mother passed away on May 20th, and May 21st was the last day that he saw And there's a video that's circulating the internet, and it was played in court. And it shows JD flipping out in the kitchen, throwing stuff and punching cabinets. You guys probably have seen it. And there's something else very interesting about this video, and I'm going to tell you in a minute. But in this video, you can clearly see JD having what looks to be a meltdown. And I would play it for you, but I'll explain to you why I cannot play it for you in a minute. AH is clearly trying to hide the fact that she is recording him, and in it, you hear him saying, "Did anything happen to you this morning? Did anything happen to you this morning?" And all things of that nature. In fact, he says that a couple of times, and in it, she's acting all sweet and innocent, like she has no idea why he's flipping out, and no clue what he's talking about. Why are they weren't even fighting this morning, and making it all about her, as she likes to do. And then at the very end of that video, he notices that she's recording, and he grabs the phone and seems to throw it, and she retrieves the phone, looks down at it, laughs, and smiles.
No, that's the thing.
You want to see crazy? I'll give you fucking crazy. That's crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy.
Have you drunk this whole thing this morning?
Oh, you got this going. You got this going?
I just started it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really? Sneak that shit on me,
No,
motherfucker.
I didn't. You were smashing shit.
Oh, bye. Ass.
Now, in court, when they play this video, she flinches a couple of times when he hits the cabinets, and it is so ridiculous. And I hope that the jury sees through that, because he even testified that she laughed in the end of that video. And he also said if she was so scared, why was she following him around, and why didn't she just leave? While on the stand, JD asked a few times what was the date of that video, and he's never given an answer. But the date of that video was May 21st, and that was the morning after his mother had passed away. I believe she had passed away in the middle of the night, or very, very early that morning, and this was the first time that he had heard that she had in fact passed. And what was going on in that kitchen had absolutely nothing to do with Amber, and everything to do with Johnny's mother passing away. Yes, his mother had been dying, and he knew that her end was near. And yes, he had just taken his children the night before to visit her and say their goodbyes. But, and yes, he was technically prepared for her passing. There's like an orb or something. It's a ghost. She knows I'm talking about her. Okay, that wasn't funny. But still, who is ever 100% prepared to lose their mother? And, no matter what, that was his mom. That was his mother. That is who raised him. And I'm sorry, but I don't think that being upset and a little bit volatile after finding out that your mother has now passed on, I don't see that being an awkward response to have at all. But the context that she makes it seem like is that it's out of the blue for no apparent reason. And, now, I'll just leave you with that. Another thing that I want to leave you with, however, about this video is that there have been some creators on YouTube who have tried to use that video and show it while they explain it like we typically do. We'll show you a clip of something. And this is like a video that should have been fair use. It's being used in a public trial. And, I would love to show it as well. However, I can't, because anyone who has used it has been copyright claimed by TMZ. And why would that be the case? How would TMZ own the copyright of basically a home video, that's completely public and considered fair use at this point? There's one way. And that would be that they actually do, in fact, own it. They own the rights to that video. And how would they own it? They bought it. They paid for it. And I certainly don't think that Johnny Depp would have sold a video like that to TMZ. He's not the one that usually likes to get a lot of attention from the public. And also, that video does not paint him in a very good light. So who else would have sold it to TMZ? And who actually had the access to it? Whose phone was it on? That's all I'm going to say. Sus AF. So that is all I have for you guys today. I'll be working on video 3 and get that out as soon as possible. I know you see the quick wardrobe change here. It's actually been 2 days since I filmed part 2, and I have a kid that's having some health issues right now, and yeah, we're trying to get to the bottom of some things. So nothing major, nothing huge to worry about. It's something she's had for a long time, migraines, basically. And but she's been really suffering to the point where I had to take her to the ER last night, and it's just been very, very difficult. She can't go to school, she can't get her work done, and it's horrible to watch your kid suffer like that. So anyway, I will be getting everything out as soon as I can. I'm obviously behind now, and I apologize. It's life, you know. I get you guys at least 1 or 2 videos a week. That's all I ever promised. A new video every week. I got you. Anyway, I will talk to you guys later, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. If you like, subscribe, feel free to comment anything, whatever, and I will see you guys in the next one. Talk to you later.
Oh, you don't